comrades! Welcome to the Lumpy Lodge of Hard Knocks, where your dome gets slumped with the bumps of tough love from the revolutionary thugs. Normies beware!
Alright, folks, I'm a libertarian. Alright, so I believe that you shouldn't have to have a license to operate a 2-ton piece of machinery, alright? You shouldn't have to demonstrate competency. That's a violation of your rights. And I think you should be able to drive drunk unless you hurt somebody. Then you'll pay the price. But if you can drive drunk, then so be it. So no one's gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna teach y'all how to hack into this here breathalyzer IID ignition interlock device. Y'all ready? Let's go. Alright, y'all. You're just gonna need 2 things and 2 things only for this hack. Alright? You're gonna need natural peanut butter. Alright? Because you don't want it to have adrenochrome or stem cells from aborted post-abortion fetuses. So, it says natural on it, so it must not have anything like that in it. Alright? So you need that to fight the New World Order. And then you're gonna need a well-trained puppy. And that's it. You just need a well-trained dog. And that's the doggy right here to do the job. Done dirt cheap. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this non-adrenochrome PB peanut butter and we're gonna just smear it onto the breathalyzer mouthpiece, just like this, alright? Just like that. And then we're gonna get that puppy to come over and go to town on it. Come on. Come on. Chapo, come on. Chapo, get it. Yeah, that a boy. Now, speak. You gotta speak at the same time. Chapo, speak. Chapo, get it. Come on now, get some more. Come on. I know you like peanut butter more than this. Come on. Yeah, that a boy. Now speak. Speak. Bert. Speak. You gotta lick and speak at the same time or this ain't gonna fucking work, Chapo. Fuck. Come on, man. Now speak. Speak. You gotta speak, boy. Come on, speak. Speak, boy. Come on. Man, fuck.
One DUI is far more than enough. And with no pride whatsoever, I can say that I've had more than enough to an undisclosed power of more than enoughs. It's an absolute miracle that I have a valid driver's license today. But thankfully, it's been a decade since my last DUI, and it will be my last. So let's quantify the pain and suffering of being a repeat DUI offender. I'm going to break it down right now. The last time I got in trouble and was on probation, I had to take both anger management and DUI classes at the same time because of the nature of what happened. So with the combination of court fees and fines, DMV fees and fines, classes, and the ignition interlock device itself, I was nickeled and dimed into living hand to mouth, considering I already lived in poverty. All my wages as a tree guy making $20 an hour went to paying the expenses of these programs and food and shelter. That's it. And I was actually in debt. I was treading water. And since I lived in an extremely remote and rural corner of Northern California at the time, I really had no choice. Without a vehicle, I would have been completely stranded in Shasta, and in many ways, I already was. I was trapped. The court fines alone cost me 4 G's. The DMV fees for reinstatement were around $2,000, and the anger management classes was another $2,000. And the DUI class, that was another 3 grand. That's over $10,000 out the gate. I was lucky enough to live near a coworker who would give me rides to work until I could reinstate a restricted license, granting me privileges of driving to work and to my programs. In order to obtain the restricted license, I had to pay for an extra kind of auto insurance filing called an SR22, or a certificate of responsibility. What this does is notify the DMV if your insurance cancels, thus automatically resulting in a suspended license. The SR22 coverage usually adds about $120 to a regular insurance premium. So at that time was about $220 a month for insurance total. The second criteria for the restricted license was the installation and maintenance of the IID, or ignition interlock device. The installation of this piece of shit analog device that resembled a 1980s car phone was $300, and then another $150 every consecutive month that I was required to have it. And that was $150 a month to maintain their calibrations. This means I had to drive to the IID shop once a month and have it tested and calibrated and have all its data downloaded. I mean, this was a decade ago, and these things are much more advanced now. They're no longer analog whatsoever, from what I've heard. And they have cameras and microphones in them too. How nice. I had to keep this IID in my vehicle for 4 years before I could have my full driving privileges restored. So another $7,000 on the IIDs and another $5,000 on the SR22. When you factor in the missed work, paying for a worthless lawyer who didn't help at all, the cost of the program, and all the fines, you will understand how devastating financially this is to a working class person. Now keep in mind also, this wasn't my first rodeo, but let's also consider the mental toll this can take on a person through humiliation and hassle alone. Every 15 minutes while driving, the device would activate and you would have to blow. So if you have any distance driving to do, this becomes a severe aggravation. And imagine trying to go out on dates with a breathalyzer in your car. Not flattering, bro. And the embarrassment of people seeing you have to blow into the device every time you start your car or while driving. Every time you go to and leave work, every time you're in the grocery store parking lot, you gotta blow in this thing. People notice, they're laughing at you, they're smirking. It's not a good look. And the first year, I made the right decision to not drink. But being the stubborn alcoholic I was, I eventually relapsed again after a year. And this did nothing but make my life harder with trying to deal with this IID. It was already bad enough dealing with things that naturally cause problems with the IID that most people don't consider, such as foods and the weather. The extreme heat could damage the device, and I lived in one of the sunniest and hottest towns in the United States outside of Phoenix, Arizona. I lived in Redding, California, or near Redding. I lived in the mountains outside of Redding. But I saw the temperature hit 117 degrees more than once there. And on one occasion, I had to replace an IID because the sun had partially melted it, even with the windows down. And they tried to charge me an extra $3,000 to replace this piece of shit analog device. But after much debate with them, I talked them down to $300. I made them understand, they tried to make it out like I was trying to tamper and make it look like. But then they realized, oh yeah, it was like 112 degrees that day. And yeah, he didn't mess with it. It was the sun. But another time while working in the mountains in the winter, during sub-zero temperatures, this caused the device to glitch out, resulting in me being locked out of my car in the extreme cold. And it was common for the device to take longer to boot up in the cold because you had to turn the ignition halfway over to boot the device up. So when it was really cold, it would take sometimes 10 minutes for the device to warm up. And that would lead to constant dead batteries and me having to have a jump box with me at all times to remedy that situation. Because I had an old beater that can't just leave the ignition halfway turned over without the battery being drained. So that was another issue that I had to deal with. And then consumption of certain foods could cause false failures on the IID. Eating yeasty breads like pizza dough or donuts for sometimes up to a half hour prior to blowing in the device could cause a false fail. There was one time I was all famished after work and I had found a orange in my truck. And I was like, oh, there's an orange. I smashed this orange. And then, not thinking about it, blew right into the device as I was about to take off. And I got a fail. And then I realized, well, this orange was kind of old. It was probably partially fermented. And that's what caused the false fail. And 2 false fails in a row will result in a lockout. And a lockout would result in a $100 fine, and more than 2 lockouts in any given time could result in total suspension of your entire IID program. That never happened, but I had fails, and I got lucky that didn't happen. And then, which brings me to another problem, which was waking up hungover. And if not enough time had elapsed since your last drink and you going out the next morning to start the car up, that's going to result in a fail. And that happened to me a few times. And I eventually bought a portable breathalyzer, BAC machine that you can get at Walgreens for like $20 to pre-test my breath before blowing in the IID. And this is just a demonstration of the pure lunacy that alcoholism will drive you to. Because the correct and easier thing to have done would have been to simply not drink. But unfortunately at that time, my desire to drink drowned out reason and logic. There's always ways to defeat these devices. It's true. But they usually do lead to failure. And tampering with these devices will result in further criminal charges. I heard of dudes trying to fill up balloons and then try to untie them later on while they're driving around or whatever and attach them to their device. And that's apparently, allegedly, what led to the vibration feature. Because not only, at least with my device, not only did I have to blow into it consistently for 30 seconds without stopping, but I also had to hum at the same time. So not only did I have to blow, but I had to hum. And so I heard to get around this, some hillbilly dude tried to attach a tuning fork to an air compressor, and he ended up destroying the device from air pressure damage. So why risk it?
So the moral of the story is there's no defeating or cheating an IID. And the only way to get one over on it is to not drink.